It is a very rainy Tuesday, so I figured today would be the perfect day to do some tag videos. So I'm going to start with the reader problems tag. I don't remember who originally created it, but I will link the original video down in the description. So there are 11 questions, and I'm just going to get right into it. And I apologize if this gets lengthy or wordy. Those two basically mean the same thing. I have not prepared for this video, so my editing is going to have to work its magic when I'm done. Okay, so question 1 is, you have 20,000 books on your TBR. How in the world do you decide what to read next? So, I make monthly TBR videos, but if you've seen any of my TBRs / wrap-ups, you'll know that I'm really bad at actually sticking to a TBR because I'm a mood reader. So when it's time to pick my next book, I normally just pick whatever I'm in the mood for. And yeah, like I'll just look at my shelves or look at my Goodreads TBR or whatever, and just whatever pops up first, like whatever kind of jumps out at me, that's what I'll read. Sometimes, like if I've had something highly suggested to me, it'll kind of work its way up the list and that'll pop in my head first and that's what I'll read. But really, I don't have a method. It's just whatever I'm in the mood for when I'm ready to pick up a new book. Question 2. You're halfway through a book and you're just not loving it. Do you quit or are you committed? So this one's hard for me. Well, it's not hard for me, but I DNF books, but I don't actually consider it DNFing books. Like, I'm not like, oh, I'm not enjoying this, I'm just going to DNF it. I'm like, I'm not enjoying this, I'm just going to put it to the side and then never pick it up again. But I might, so I'm just going to leave it on my TBR. That's how I DNF books. I really just don't do it. It works for me, so. That being said, I have gotten better about it. Like this year, I started a shelf on Goodreads for like actual DNF books, like things that I know I will never pick up again, things that I just hated or just weren't my style or whatever. I have actually started doing that. But for the most part, when I DNF a book, it's like, oh, I'll come back to it later. I'm really bad at DNFing books. So, number 3. The end of the year is coming and you're so close but so far away on your Goodreads reading challenge. Do you try to catch up and how? No. My Goodreads goal, well, first of all, my Goodreads goal is set really low because I know it's a challenge, but I don't really like stressing about how many books I'm going to read in a year. I try to hit it, but usually it's set low enough that I can hit it pretty easily without really having to like play catch up at the end of the year. So, I don't stress about the Goodreads goal. If I don't hit it, I don't hit it. If I do, great. Question 4. The covers of a series you love do not match. How do you cope? I get over it and I move on. Like, it's really not that big of a deal to me. I don't really buy a whole ton of books. So, and when I do, like, I generally just get like the cheapest I can find. So if they don't match, they don't match. I'm really not, like, if you looked at my shelves, I'm not really like into the aesthetics of it. Like, a book is a book. If it has words on the page and I can read it, I'm fine with it. And that might be an unpopular opinion, but I really just don't care that much. Obviously, like, if it's an option, if I have the option to buy matching covers, I'll do it. But if I don't have them, I don't stress out over it. Everyone and their mother loves a book you really don't like. Who do you bond with over shared feelings? I don't know if that's really happened all that often. Like, not to say that I'm like a sheep, but I feel like my feelings towards books generally agree with other people's. Like, so when I read The Hazelwood earlier this year, I hated it, and my best friend happened to be reading it at the same time, and I was thinking to myself, like, oh, I'm gonna have to, like, I hope she doesn't love this book, because then I'm gonna have to tell her I hated it, and it's gonna be, like, we're not gonna be able to talk about it. But as it turns out, she hated it too. So, I mean, I guess really I would force those around me to listen to my differing opinion. That's the best answer I have for that. I don't have anyone. I guess maybe someone on BookTube, like, make a comment on somebody's video being like, hey, I hate that book too. Everybody else can, take their opinion and go away. All right, number 6. You're reading a book and you're about to start crying in public. How do you deal? I don't think I've ever actually cried reading a book, so I don't have to worry about dealing with that. But I guess if I was crying in public because of a book, it's whatever. Like, people need to mind their own business. If I want to cry while I'm reading a book, I can cry while I'm reading a book. Number 7. A sequel of a book you love just came out, but you've forgotten a lot of the prior novel. Will you reread the book, skip the sequel, try to find a synopsis on Goodreads, cry in frustration with lots of question marks and exclamation points? I'll read a synopsis. I'm too slow of a reader to reread a book if I'm excited about the next one coming out. So I'll read a synopsis. I'll find a way to refresh my memory. Sometimes maybe I'll like skip through a little bit, like just open to random pages and be like, oh yeah, I remember that. Okay, I remember that. But I won't really reread a book. I would probably just look up a synopsis. Number 8, you do not want anyone borrowing your books. How do you politely tell people nope when they ask? That's not really a problem for me. I just let people borrow my books. Like, I've had people borrow books and I don't get them back. Like, it doesn't really matter. Like, it's a book. If you really love it that much, you can just buy another one. And if you have a copy of something that's that important to you that it would bother you if you didn't get it back, then don't lend it out. In that case, I would just say, hey, I'm really sorry. Like, did you check your library? Like, maybe you can get it there for free. Number 9, reading ADD. You've picked up and put down 5 books in the last month. How do you get over your reading slump? So this happened to me recently. In the end of November, I was in a super reading slump. I kept picking up books and I wasn't enjoying them. So I just went back to, an old reliable. I continued on in a series that I knew I absolutely loved. And that's really the best way for me to get out of a reading slump, is to pick up something that I know beyond the shadow of a doubt that I will enjoy. And that's really all it takes. Number 10. There are so many new books coming out that you're dying to read. How many do you actually buy? Unless I'm like really dying to read it, none. Like, I don't really buy a whole lot of books. I feel like I say that all the time, but I really don't buy a whole lot of books. Like, I see these people with these book hauls every month. They're like, these are the 30 books that I bought in October. Like, that wasn't calling anyone out. I don't actually have anybody in mind. Just so we're clear. I can't imagine that. Like, I don't buy books like that. I buy maybe 1 or 2 a month. Yeah, that's it. Like, I really don't buy a whole lot of books. And like when The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren came out, I went and bought that because I was really excited about it. But I mean, really, I don't buy that many. So like maybe 1 or 2 would be the answer to that question. Otherwise, I'll just wait, or I'll get it from my library, or I don't know. And the final question is number 11. After you've bought the new books you can't wait to get to, how long do they sit on your shelf before you get to them? Forever. Unless I'm like super, super excited, like it's highly anticipated, like the number 1 book that I wanted to read this year, like The Unhoneymooners. I was waiting for that book. It can sit on my shelf forever. Like, I have, what's it called? I have Dance of Thieves. I bought that when my husband and I went on vacation in October. I haven't even touched it. Like, it did make it onto my TBR this month, but I haven't touched it. I haven't opened it. They can sit there forever. No matter how excited I am about a book, if I don't pick it up and start it like immediately, it'll just sit there and wait for me. It's a bad habit. That is all 11 questions from the Reader Problems tag. Yeah, this was a fun tag. The questions are kind of interesting. It's funny because I feel like a lot of readers do struggle with these things. Maybe I'm just kind of passive about it. I don't know. But yeah, this was a fun tag, and if you haven't done it before, you should totally do it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.